Hi there. Here we are on Wednesday. It's the place to be.
No
We're
other
Dave,
place.
we're Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we're going to play a little bit of our friend Elliot Lewis for you. So we'll be right back.
Oh yeah, we're in this together.
And as we say each week, we are in this together, and it couldn't have been more perfect that Elliot wrote that song, and he's
Mm.
allowed us to use it. And if those of you out there, welcome. If you are not familiar with Elliot Lewis's music, he is the keyboardist for Hall and Oates, and he has his own musical career and journey, which is fabulous. So he's a very dear friend, and anytime we can use his music, I think it's about time. Maybe we'll look at additional music and create another banner.
Well, he's talking about moving here to Ohio. So
Yeah, exactly. So we are Laura and Dave Butler of Work Life Consulting. So glad you're here. If you're listening to this on recording, please let us know. We'd love to know that. But what we do is provide customized online coaching programs that help individuals, teams, and leaders achieve greater fulfillment in their lives. And we customize and tailor our unique offerings to fit your unique needs and include individual coaching, virtual workshops, and keynote content. And today, what we're going to be talking about is the importance of having leadership impact and what that impact does. You know this, David. You
well,
came up with the idea.
ripples inside the organization and outside the organization. And
It's a
depending on what
ripple
those
effect,
ripples are, they can have a positive effect or a negative effect.
right? And we all know when we are little kids or we work, work alongside little kids who throw that, skim the rock in the water. That it finally later in my life I learned how to do that. Having grown up on the water, it took me forever, but it's such a powerful impact and image when you look at that rock skimming across the water. Well, think
Mhm.
of that metaphorically in terms of leadership,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because sometimes the rock stops and there's a big kaboom, and other times it continues, it keeps going, and it flows into the other side of the lake or the other wave that comes
Well,
on.
I think if you think about it on a daily basis, you show up, whether it's online or in person, and just by the way you show up, you have an impact. If
That's
you
right.
show up in a negative frame of mind, if you're nervous and upset and worried, that has a ripple effect on the rest of the organization as well. But if you show up in a positive frame of mind, you've got a positive EQ, you're clapping everybody in the back and saying good morning and how are you and how the kids, it makes everybody feel better. So you can have a positive ripple effect as well.
Well, I think it also speaks to the fact, and I was talking to a colleague client earlier about this, that everything doesn't have to be so scripted.
Yeah.
It's in the moment. And when we can ride the waves and cause the ripples to continue as opposed to the big eight
Hmm.
foot wave, it really does make a difference. And it also allows for this discussion, helps leadership and leaders to be ready. Because if there's ever an uncertain time, it's
Welcome.
now.
Welcome. Well, I think a lot of times we talk about change, and change is like waves as well. And sometimes, if you're not ready for the change, the wave will, upset you and turn you over, and you'll be lost in the change. But if you understand what's going on with the change, you can get on your surfboard and paddle like hell, and ride the wave in. So there's a
Well,
lot of
one of the
there's an awful lot of metaphors that work with this, I think.
yeah, and one of the things that we've pivoted, using that word again, towards is, we had discussed having at the start of the year a workshop and some discussion around the virtual world. Well, that world is uncertain now more than ever. We don't know, is the world going to be in the world of work? Is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be remote? Is it going to be a hybrid? Is it going to be on site?
The one thing's for sure, it's going to be different.
It's going to be very different. And that's why leader ready, being able to have an impact as a leader
Yeah.
on the future and have those ripples occur.
Yeah, and when you show up, are you making the ripples bigger and worse, or are you helping to calm things down? A lot of times there's already quite a bit of chop going on, and everybody's trying to, keep the boat, heading in the right direction. We leaders need to show up and say, okay, let's get our bearings, let's get our heading, let's do what we have to do to calm things down. So I like to talk about it from the point of view of intended and unintended consequences. We could show up and not just try to make an impact. Well, you have to keep in mind that there could be unintended consequences. There may be some things that you hadn't thought about. You need to anticipate. And, but you can do that to your advantage as well. You could have intended consequences. Maybe you show up and have a meeting and have everybody attend the meeting and impart some sort of information. Well, you have to realize that that's going to continue on from that meeting outward. It's going to have ripple effects in the rest of the organization.
Right. Because as you said, even a tsunami started as a ripple somewhere.
Correct. Even before you knew that it was coming, there was a ripple someplace. Maybe it was from a what do you call it, an earthquake somewhere else in the world. It shows up halfway around the world as a tsunami wave. Well, the same thing can happen inside of organizations today, especially with technology and the way that we're all so interconnected with each other. There may be a little ripple and a little wave where we are, but that could have profound effects on our customers, our clients, our vendors. All kinds of people get involved.
Well, I like this piece too, is that being able to, when you insert a wave or insert a ripple into the organizational framework, how do we know where that wave ripple is going to land?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, find, it's like resonating, it goes off the rocks and then it comes back.
Mm.
And, being ready to understand how to respond to that effect.
Well, being able to read the wind and the waves, I think it's a great navigational metaphors here. Because if you try and leave the bay when the tide's coming in, you're never going to get out. But if you're ready to go as the tide goes out, you can actually ride the waves out to the ocean.
Well, if those of you who are listening right now, if you haven't figured out that we grew up on the ocean, we did. And so this is a big part of our DNA, and we love to use the waves, the ripples as metaphor because we've seen it. I mean, we've been caught under a wave, and that's one of the most uncomfortable feelings ever. And you don't know where you're going to end up. So it's that uncertainty that you are alone in this. And I think leaders need to be able to tap into that metaphor and realize your team feels alone sometimes. So how do we bring them together into the calm water?
Well, and then for those of you that didn't grow up on the ocean, there are waves in the air as well. I mean, those friends of ours from aviation know what it's like to be in turbulence when you're in an airplane.
Yeah.
Now, also, you want to be able to have a good tailwind if the waves are heading in your direction and you're able to get on top of it. You'll get from New York to Los Angeles a half an hour early. There's a lot of power in the waves because if you know how to use them and how to ride them, you can use them to your advantage. And this is true inside of organizations as well, with change waves and with new waves of new innovations and new technologies.
Well, the thing that I like what you found in some of our research is there are actually 7 leadership impacts. And we chose these 3 because these are more of the in the moment. The other 4 are more behavioral. But I think these apply to what we're talking about right now. Leadership impact is all about situational, transactional, and transformational.
Right. So situational impact might be something to do with a particular event that happens on a daily basis. We won the new contract, we lost a contract, whatever it is that's going on in the organization. Situationally, there's an impact that you can help manage.
And transactional is kind of a addition to that.
Transaction could be hiring somebody new. It could be somebody that you counted on leaving the organization. There's a transaction that happens in that situation because of the impact that you hadn't really thought about.
And then transformational is, sort of what we've been talking about, which is, the idea of the ripple effects. We don't really know who it's going to hit or how it's going to affect them. But when we, us personally, when we hear from somebody who says, boy, that article you wrote really resonated with me, that's transformational.
Right.
And we don't know until we put it out there. So it's the same with leadership.
Certainly the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic has been widely transformational for many businesses, for many individuals, in positive and negative ways.
Well, I'd like to welcome those of you who are joining us today and those of you who are listening to this on a recording. And in the comments, is there one of these or which one of these three has had an impact on you in terms of whether it's a situational experience, transactional, or transformational? But the other thing to remember with leadership and the ripple effects of leadership is that everything you do, every moment, every word, every interaction, every thought you may have, it has an impact on something or something else.
Or someone.
And this idea goes through the organization as a ripple. So we don't know where that's going to land, but you're being watched all the time.
Yeah, and you can direct that ripple effect a lot more so than letting it just happen.
That's right, exactly. It doesn't have to just happen. But what we like to invite people to do, and the ticker on the bottom will show you, is schedule a discovery call, 30-minute complimentary call to talk about these situations. How can you make a ripple effect happen in your organization or in your personal lives? That it's not only work related, the way these situations occur. But these, you can land on our website via the link on our homepage, or it's www.worklifeonline.com. And we offer our weekly live streams, and we would love to hear from people in the audience. What is it that you would like to hear more about? So another situation here could be that, there's something I'd like to hear more of about situational leadership. What does that look like, and how can we create something that might happen that we can make a live stream conversation about? So
I love to hear people's experiences with impacts in their lives and work.
That's right. And it's once we share these stories, they become, that's the ripple in the universe. The sharing of the stories and what has the experience shown, how can we learn, and I was talking to as a colleague earlier about, how to have conversations with team members, colleagues, that create some different scope of the conversation. It's not just, how are you? Oh, I'm good. We get the same response, but really target it around, how's our trust level? What sort of conflict have you witnessed lately?
Well, that's certainly a ripple effect. It's trust. And when it's trust or mistrust, it seems to grow exponentially.
That's right.
We'd much rather have a wave of trust than mistrust.
So again, thank you for listening, Dave and Laura Butler. Please share any comments or thoughts you might have. And we will be here. No, we won't be here next Wednesday, because unless Dave does it on his own, I will be traveling back from out of town. But it's a pleasure to have you here, and more next time.
Join us in some impact.
Yes.